The most beautiful thing in the world is, of course, the world itself. Perhaps the truth depends on a walk around a lake. In the world of words, the imagination is one of the forces of nature. The day of the sun is like the day of a king. It is a promenade in the morning, a sitting on the throne at noon, a pageant in the evening. Money is a kind of poetry. Accuracy of observation is the equivalent of accuracy of thinking. After the final no, there comes a yes, and on that yes, the future of the world hangs. I do not know which to prefer, the beauty of inflections, or the beauty of innuendos, the blackbird whistling, or just after. Poor, dear, silly spring, preparing her annual surprise. The imagination is man's power over nature. The way through the world is more difficult to find than the way beyond it. Death is the mother of beauty, hence from her, alone, shall come fulfillment to our dreams and our desires. The only emperor is the emperor of ice cream. How full of trifles everything is! It is only one's thoughts that fill a room with something more than furniture. A poet looks at the world the way a man looks at a woman. We say God and the imagination are one. How high that highest candle lights the dark! Most people read poetry listening for echoes because the echoes are familiar to them. They wade through it the way a boy wades through water, feeling with his toes for the bottom. The echoes are the bottom. The philosopher proves that the philosopher exists. The poet merely enjoys existence. If some really acute observer made as much of egotism as Freud has made of sex, people would forget a good deal about sex and find the explanation for everything in egotism. Everything is complicated. If that were not so, life and poetry and everything else would be a bore. Thought is an infection. In the case of certain thoughts, it becomes an epidemic. One's ignorance is one's chief asset. Reality is not what it is. It consists of the many realities which it can be made into. Style is not something applied. It is something that permeates. It is of the nature of that in which it is found, whether the poem, the manner of a god, the bearing of a man. It is not a dress. It can never be satisfied, the mind, never. It is the unknown that excites the ardor of scholars, who, in the known alone, would shrivel up with boredom. Nothing could be more inappropriate to American literature than its English source, since the Americans are not British in sensibility. A poem need not have a meaning, and like most things in nature, often does not have. Our bloom is gone. We are the fruit thereof. The poet is the priest of the invisible. One cannot spend one's time in being modern when there are so many more important things to be. In poetry, you must love the words, the ideas and the images and rhythms with all your capacity to love anything at all. To regard the imagination as metaphysics is to think of it as part of life, and to think of it as part of life is to realize the extent of artifice. We live in the mind. Intolerance respecting other people's religion is toleration itself in comparison with intolerance respecting other people's art. The genuine artist is never true to life. He sees what is real, but not as we are normally aware of it. We do not go storming through life like actors in a play. Art is never real life. What our eyes behold may well be the text of life, but one's meditations on the text and the disclosures of these meditations are no less a part of the structure of reality. Perhaps it is of more value to infuriate philosophers than to go along with them. The fire burns as the novel taught it how. The point of vision and desire are the same. As life grows more terrible, its literature grows more terrible. The reason can give nothing at all like the response to desire. If poetry should address itself to the same needs and aspirations, the same hopes and fears, to which the Bible addresses itself, it might rival it in distribution. New York is a field of tireless and antagonistic interests, undoubtedly fascinating, but horribly unreal. Everybody is looking at everybody else, a foolish crowd walking on mirrors.